Today marks the beginning of what we're calling an open house week, in that I've worked at the Folklore Centre for many years and realized that we have many hidden gems that a lot of people don't know about. We've got equipment for researchers, we've got space, we have got materials that we thought we would spend this next week sharing topics that are really relevant to the community, such as blueberries and mushrooms and things that we can forage in nature. But as well as we've got, documents from the past, people's histories, oral histories, all kinds of things that we've got online and physically that you can come in and research, use for your research in person. So during this week, tomorrow we're going to have a scan-a-thon where you can come and learn how to scan photographs that you may want to keep for yourself but also share with us. We will have on Tuesday how to handle textiles. On Thursday we have a session on how to record an oral history. If you've got a baba, a parent, someone in the community that you would like to hear their story and record it, you can do a quick little workshop with us and learn how to do that and how to save it afterwards. And then on Friday, we will have a session on genealogy. There's a lot of people who want to come in, and Elaine Kalinchuk, who usually sets up at the Ukrainian Festival in Vegreville and at the Ukrainian Village, she'll be coming in, and you can talk to her firsthand about some of your questions when it comes to studying genealogy. And then throughout the week, we are hosting all of our classes that take Ukrainian, so they can come in and see what resources that we have here, so that they can search even deeper than what they learn in class and explore their Ukrainian background or some of the interests they may have in Ukrainian history or folklore specifically. But today, we have invited Karen to come from the community, and most of you probably read on the little poster. She is the president of the Alberta Mycological Society. She's a mushroom lady. And but she also is a U of A alumna. She studied education and biology, and has her master's from, I forget, from the U of A, where she actually did a paper on, I tried to memorize it, Karen.
The history of the development of the School Achievement Indicators program. It's a testing program that has gone national, and students are tested at age 13 and 16 every 4 years. Of course, testing now has fallen out of favor, but testing has shown to be really critical in how students learn. Yeah. That's why we're going to have a test today. Yeah,
and I wanted her to explain that so you get a sense of how she researches, she studies things, and I have come to know her from two different backgrounds. One is our children danced together in Vita, and Karen researched how to fundraise for the organization, all the different legalities involved with different things, and then also she and I worked together on the Leonard Cohen International Leonard Cohen Festival when it was here in 2008. So we've had a working relationship for a while, and so I'm looking forward to what she's going to share with us, all the details about mushrooms. Karen, you've got the floor.
Thank you. I know I watch TikTok, and you're not supposed to say, I'm thrilled to be here, but honestly, I'm thrilled to be here. And I'm thrilled to say hi to you. And maybe I've broken a whole bunch of rules already, but there's a TikTok trend that's going around that goes something like this. I'm Italian, so of course I'm going to eat my salad last. And so I'm going to riff on that TikTok trend. I'm Ukrainian. Of course I'm going to wear my Austrian sweater, my Ukrainian huska, and my fur coat. I'm not going to come looking like that. Of course, right? I'm Ukrainian. Of course I'm going to come with gifts. Of course I'm going to give them away. I've got Kalyna, I've got soup mix, and I've got pickled mushrooms. I've got a draw coming. I'm Ukrainian. Of course, I'm going to talk about food, and of course, I'm going to share recipes. I come from St. Paul, Alberta. St. Paul is in the Aspen Parkland. It is Kalyna country, it is blueberry country, it is hazelnut country, and it is mushroom country. I am going to talk a little bit beyond those first three, though. And because I am an educator, and I wasn't joking about this, we are going to have a test. And it's a little bit serious. I'm going to ask you two questions after this talk. What was this talk really about? What was it really about? And number two, where do I find mushrooms? I'm going to actually teach you the secret. But I'm going to see if you have figured out where to find mushrooms. So if you could take a minute and write those two things down. What was this talk really about? Okay. You have little pieces of paper, I know, because I made them for you. I know people are getting organized, so I'm going to grab myself another water. So what was this talk really about? And the ultimate question, where do I really find mushrooms? It's reasonably easy for anyone, okay, to find Kalyna, blueberries, or beaked hazelnuts, okay? It's reasonably easy. Okay, Kalyna there's 3 species of them. 2 genera, one that's a bog cranberry, and 2 that are about my size, one a little higher than me, one a little shorter than me, and the tree never moves. Unless someone's cut it down, if you know where the tree is and you've seen it flower, you're going to be able to find it. The same thing with blueberry. You look, this is the most common blueberry. It's a velvet leaf blueberry. It's short, comes to my knees, okay, and it's very distinctive. The leaf is kind of blue and velvety. Same thing, you go out with your cousins, you go out with your parents, you know where you went, you go back. Unless someone's plowed the field, the plant's going to still be there, you're going to be able to pick it. And repeat for beaked hazelnut. Now, the thing that's so special about the beaked hazelnut is the only nut-producing shrub, plant, tree in Alberta. There are no other nut-producing. And many people tried to harvest them. People have harvested them. I say people because my people are Ukrainian. The thing about them is that you'll walk along the forest path. You'll walk in the bush and you'll see the hazelnuts. And then one day, they're going to be all gone. The bushes are going to be there, but they're going to be all gone. Where did they go? The squirrels get them. The squirrels get them faster than you. And the squirrels are smart. They can pick them and store them, and they mature. Okay? So my Auntie Sophie knew that. Okay? And some years she did pick a nice mass of beaked hazelnuts. Now, today is a very special day for me because sitting in this audience is my cousin, and I use her mother's name 2 times. And sitting in this room is also a student I taught in 1982. So this makes this a very special talk for me today. So you could go foraging for these because they don't move. You know where they are, and people readily want to go with you. Okay? But mushrooms are a different thing. There are millions of mushrooms. It's not like 4 or 3 species of blueberries or cranberries or the one beaked hazelnut. There are literally millions of mushrooms. There's between 2 and 3.8 million mushrooms, and of those of those mushrooms, less than 150,000 have been identified. Less than that. So if you walk along the bush and you see a mushroom, be afraid. You may not have a name. You may not be able to look it up and say, should I eat this? Okay? So you have to be extremely careful about mushrooms. Okay? Now, I have a little demo here. I didn't know there was going to be no blackboard. I don't know if I'm going to get my hands dirty, but I'm Ukrainian. I brought my black gloves. Okay? Yeah. My husband's sister used to volunteer at the Jubilee, and she said every time there would be a Cherimosh or Shumka concert, the women would come out with their fur coats and their nice clothes and their black gloves. So I can't let her down. So I bring this because it's a leaf. This is a root, okay? I bring wood, okay? Because where do you find mushrooms? Mushrooms are mostly terrestrial. They mostly grow on soil or things associated with soil. They're not aquatic, okay? And mushrooms start off looking like this. You know what a blueberry starts off as, right? A little shrub. Mushrooms don't look like that. They start off looking like this, okay? Almost all mushrooms start off looking like this. You will always find exceptions. In biology, it's always best to say likely or most, okay? So here's the beginning of a mushroom. Okay, this isn't the most desirable, but, and once in a while, when the snow melts and the temperature rises and the nutrients underground mobilize and the mycelium is mature enough, okay, there it's maturing. Oh boy. Anyways, you get the picture. Boop. That's exactly what happens. Boop. And then it lasts for about 3 days and then boop, it's gone. That's exactly why mushrooms are such a mystery. Where do they come from? Well, they're mostly terrestrial. They're in the soil. They stay in the soil until conditions are right. When conditions are right, then they flush. Not all, but most fungus produce mushrooms. And mushrooms are the fruiting body of a fungus. And the spores, this is a pretty good representation of a bolete. The stem is smooth, the spore-producing surface is porous, the cap is red. So it's very, very close to a red top. And then red tops actually last quite a while, but by the time you get them when they're old, the insects have gotten them. So I'll just tape this on here just to as a reminder of where the mushroom comes from. The mushroom comes from not the tree, but from the mycelium. So mushrooms are fruiting bodies. Fungi are made of masses of hyphae. Mycelium develop. When the mycelium develop, the mushroom flushes. Okay? If the conditions are not right, then you miss a year, and then you go to the same spot you went last year, it's not there. Maybe you missed it by a day, maybe the spring's long or the spring's short or whatever it is, but so that's why we need to spend time talking about mushrooms and not about Kalyna, not about blueberries. We need to also spend a little time talking about our people. They came to Canada my family came from Galicia, and we settled in the area from St. Paul, or Edmonton, all the way to Winnipeg. There's kind of like a parallel corridor. And in that region is the aspen parkland. And the aspen parkland has both grasses and woods. And this is very similar to the country that they came from. And this country was very bountiful for a couple of reasons. It would have been easier to settle in Medicine Hat. It would have been way easier. You wouldn't have to break the land. But then you didn't have wood. And in the old country, you actually had to pay for wood. And so they thought wood was like a commodity. And so, but what did the wood bring? The wood brought food, and you could forage for food. And a lot of the times it came from the days where you didn't have a deep freeze. I mean, there were ways to make a deep freeze, but generally, drying and canning were the two strategies used to preserve mushrooms. Some families also killed large animals for their food. My dad did not, and I don't think my Uncle Bill did either. I'm not sure. Did he hunt moose and deer? And no, we're not. But some families did that. Generally, Ukrainian families said, we went picking mushrooms, we went for blueberries, we went to the river for cranberries, and the squirrels got my hazelnuts. So, why did I mention the old country? Well, foraging is a skill brought from the old country. A country with similar ecosystems and similar species, some almost the same. So there were differences, but they essentially brought their foraging and identification skills from the old country, and very commonly shmuji, pitsaretia, kozari, and pitpanki were the very common ones that were foraged. Now, shmuji, when I told someone, they came early and they said, where did you learn to forage? Well, my dad told me, when you hear the birds sing in spring, they will say the sound like shmuji. And it's the name of the mushroom. I don't know if he was just tricking me to go out into the bush and go and hunt for mushrooms, but it is actually, there is a little bit of legend in that. When the birds come back, songbirds, when the violet blooms, there's a little bog violet, when the bog violet blooms, what's happening? Well, the soil temperature's increasing, the air temperature's increasing, the birds are migrating, all of the nutrients are getting mobilized, and the mushrooms too. But why aren't there this secretive thing about picking blueberries? Well, picking mushrooms is dangerous. We don't know what is a safe mushroom. Their vast numbers just should be enough to scare you. And I hope I do that today, because I don't want anybody to walk out of here and pick a mushroom and eat it, okay? Unless you're one of my good students. Well, I'll tell you that good student story in a while. But what must you do when you, on your own, go out and pick a mushroom? You must study it. What does its cap look like? What does its stem look like? Okay. What does its spore print look like? You have to use books to identify it. Use books to identify it. And then you've got it identified. Do you eat it then? Absolutely not. You cross-reference or verify it with someone you know that knows. And if you have identified something successfully, and you're almost like you're 99% sure, just put it as like a little check mark, but don't eat it. Okay? I'm not like telling you seriously, don't eat it. We will only focus on these three: the morels, the boletes, and the pitpanki. At the end, I actually have slides of others, and I will show them. These are all of the photographs in this slideshow are mine, except if I have used a different photograph, and then I attribute the photo. But I use all of these photos for a reason, If you look at the reason, you can see May 16th, May 19th, May 22nd, May 28th, through the years. Some years are missing, okay? Now, 1 year I was babysitting, so I didn't go out. 1 year, last year I didn't find a single verpa or morel, not a single one, okay? And some years, I only find 18. One of these pictures have 18, I don't know which one. These are the relative of the morel. These are verpes. Did I say verpes? Verpas. I can't believe I did that. They're verpas. These over here are all morels except maybe one. But this might be a verpa. These are half and half, okay? Morels and verpas. These are all edible. You can see one of them is in a frying pan, and the last group are all verpas. So in May of 2019, I was teaching at Tempo School. I was doing a cover-off. A lady fled the country, so whoopee, I got to teach. Anyways, I'm teaching. The next morning I come to school, Tuesday, and I show the students my photograph of my mushrooms that I gathered. Just a photograph. About 4 days later, a student comes with a lunch bag, and she says, "Is this what you were talking about?" And yes, you can actually learn something today and take away and eat it. But I had beat that into them so well, she did not eat them. She cut them off, and she gathered them, and she brought them to me, and I ate them.
She cross-referenced it.
Yes, she did everything. She cross-referenced it at the end. These morels, look at the date, June 14th. Wow, lots of time this year. You can go out as early as the 17th of May and as late as the 14th of June. These were found in a private acreage near Edmonton. Okay, can you see them? I hope some of you say, no, I can't. Okay, that's the morels, they hide. Okay? They are very well camouflaged. These morels were found on June 25th. Okay, do you see them? They're pretty pathetic, but I ate them anyways. Okay. This one I think we threw away. They are Morchella angusticeps. I identified it. I shared the photo with my friends. They verified it. Take a look at where they were found. Where is that? That's the Grandview stairs. I don't know if any of you know that area. It's just a few minutes from my house. They were found right here. Right here. Okay? Who found them? I picked them. I didn't find them. A runner running up and down the stairs over and over and over, and they caught her eye. And she wrote in Facebook, we have a Facebook, a mycological Facebook, she wrote, "If anybody is interested, there is a small collection of morels at the foot." Who should be interested but me? So I waited like a day, and I thought, oh, should I be the greedy one? Anyways, it was so close to my house. I got in my car, drove to the stairs, walked down the stairs, and she didn't say if it was left or right, and I didn't want to be so nosy. Could you tell me where you found them? I walked up and down the stairs a couple of times, and they caught my eye. And take a look at this. They're in grass. They're in grass. We're going to tell you that you find morels in disturbed soil. Is that disturbed soil? Nope. We're going to tell you we find morel in burn areas. Is that burn? Nope. We're going to tell you we find morels associated with trees. Is that trees? No, not really. Okay? But morels are located everywhere. There, if you look back at the other picture that I had, this one, this is someone's flower bed. This is wood chip. There's wood chip around this. So morels, truthfully, are found everywhere. Okay? So now that you've seen them, I'm going to give you the characteristics. So There's 3 groups of morels, and on this page you see 2. Okay? The early morels, or the verpas, and the true morels, or the true morels. Okay? The verpas have a long, thin stalk with a wobbly little cap, and their color generally is washed out brown. The true morels have a cap and a stalk that are completely joined. They're joined, that's the best way I could say it. They're continuous. Their cap can be yellow, they can be golden, they can be brown, they can be black. The stalk of a verpa is creamy and pale. The stalk of the morel is white, almost stark white. Okay? Now, remember I said that morels are found everywhere? Why are they found everywhere? Because morels are of 2 varieties. They are saprophytes, which means they can be found everywhere, and they are also associated with trees. They're endomycorrhizal, but I didn't put that word in for you, but that's what it means. They're associated with trees. And so when my dad said, go look under the spruce, he was looking for a certain kind of morel, a black morel. If you look in the grassland, you will find golden morels, but they're found everywhere. But everywhere where? Where there was an obvious sign of disturbance or a not so obvious sign of disturbance. Because when the soil warms up and when the sap flows, that is a disturbance. It's just not very obvious. It's obvious to the trees, it's obvious to the mycelium, but it's not obvious. So when the soil warms to 13 degrees, I'm not joking about that. When the soil warms to 13 degrees, when the violets bloom, when the birds come back, okay? And if there's mycelium, and if there's enough moisture, there's going to be morels. So you have to have moisture. But there can be an obvious sign of disturbance, a fire. I have never foraged for fire morels. I am going to do it this year. Apparently you get really dirty, so I'm not going to come even in my white hat. No. I'm going to come in dirty clothes. So a disturbance or no disturbance? You see? Okay. I think you're getting the picture, but I think you guys already kind of know that. Now there's a third morel. It's called the false morel. Can you see it? It is actually dangerous. It releases a chemical when you cook it, okay, called gyromitrin. It is called gyromitra. Can you see it in the photo?
Is it the yellowish one?
So this is a morel. This is a morel. These long wienery things are verpas. This orange thing, rusty thing, and this rusty thing, those are gyromitra, okay? Once when I was teaching at Harry Ainley, I found one, okay? I picked it and stuck it on my bulletin board. I never ate it. I didn't know what it was. Now, I was 20-something when I started teaching there, and I was about 7 or 8 when I started picking morels. But I knew not to eat that one. It didn't look like the rest of them, okay? So, okay, don't eat them, okay? Now, I have to just jump to the next topic, otherwise we'll never get finished. This next topic is called Boletaceae. It's important that you know the family because there are 3 genera in this family, and these 3 genera, you can call them all boletes, okay? It's not right, but it's not wrong either. They all belong to the same family. The red top is actually the aspen bolete, and it is the informal Alberta mushroom. Was tried by our society to make it a Alberta mushroom, but that failed because an election was called, and yeah, I know, so it failed. So boletes do not have gills, they have pores. And they have caps that range in color from yellow to white to red to orange to brown to burgundy. And of their 3 genera, one has a netted stem, one has a scaly stem and one has a colored stem. Otherwise, they look more or less the same. Their caps sometimes could be velvety. Their caps sometimes can be slimy. Okay, that doesn't sound too, but this over here, and I'm thanking Google, this is an example of a true bolete. Okay, its stem, you can't see it here, but its stem has a net reticulation on it. This stem is a scabby stem. It's called a scaber bolete. And this has a slimy cap and a colored stem. And so that separates them. And I'm going to speed along. This was my first bolete find of this last year. It was June 30th. Why do I tell you that? Because it helps set a calendar. So you have a little window of time. You've spent all your time looking around for morels. Oh, yeah, didn't find any. But now it's June. You can start looking for boletes. And boletes last, and I'm using it as a family bolete, boletes last as long as September. Look, these were found in Whitewood River Valley. That little stubby was also found in the river valley. What my husband and I do when we pick mushrooms, I hate to tell you this out loud, but we also pick garbage. Okay? Yeah, I know. This is, well, you know, yeah, we do it. Okay? I actually have, never mind. A plastic bag I stick to the corner of my pants and I put it in there. But anyways, this is old stubby that we found in the River Valley and accidentally was in the photo. So these are Suillis in the second photo, but the season is quite long for these mushrooms. And you can very successfully find them in Edmonton. You do not have to drive an hour, okay? You just have to get on a bus or you can walk. If I can almost fall out of my house, walk 5 minutes. Just the same amount of time that I did as a kid. I walked out of the house, walked 500 meters, and I was at the bush. Same thing here. I'm just a few meters away from my bush, and I can look at that. That was collected on August 27th, 2023, and it is, we did this on purpose. Richard and I, there were far more than these, okay, but we put them in order of color. Okay, so you can see that boletes can be as colorless as white. Okay, white. Now, I have not put white mushrooms in here, in my talk at all. Do not just randomly pick white mushrooms. Okay, white mushrooms are too, you have to know too much to pick white mushrooms. Even if you know about Pichidechia, well, there are some that are yellow staining and can, you know, make your life a little miserable. You're like vomiting and, you know, not very well. So the yellow stainer is a sickener. Anyways, so, but not these. These you would not mistake, even if it is white, because it has a pore surface. It doesn't have a gill surface, it's porous. So we knew immediately that far one was white. It was extremely special. That's a white bolete. And then you could see all the different colors, all the way to a brown. And then the next row, and the next row, and so this one was burgundy. They were just so beautiful. This one, the cap, it probably dried out, the cap went up. Okay, so it's good to see the whole range. Because if you are looking for a bolete that's got a red cap and it's got a string hanging here, you're not gonna find this, okay? You're not, that's not gonna happen. So you need to know that, like people, the same species of mushroom has variation. Now, this isn't the same species. It's the same family, but there's lots of variation there. This was not found in Edmonton, but this year, I call it this year, 2023, was an excellent year at the Terwillegar Dog Run, or the Terwillegar Park, the White Mud River Valley. There's another special thing about these guys. They grow in association with the Amanita. So if you see an Amanita, does anybody know what an Amanita is? Oh, you need to know what an Amanita is. It's a poisonous mushroom, yeah. It's got an orange top, but it's got scabs on its head, white scabs. Oh, yeah. But
do they drip?
No, but if it rains, the scabs can be washed off and some people mistake them. So you really have to know your mushrooms. But they have gills. These guys don't have gills. They have pores. So, but anyways, I have to segue a little bit on poisonous mushrooms. So sometimes you will see an amanita next to this, but they're just friends. The conditions for an amanita are the same as conditions for the aspen bolete. They both like the aspen. They both like the same temperature, the same nutrients. Mushrooms are quite nitrogen requiring, and so they're found together. I bring the same slide back up because these are the characteristics you would look at when you looked at these mushrooms. And so at a glance, I can see that most of these belonged to these two genera, the Lixinum and the Suillus, okay? Just at a glance. Colored stems. Colored stems, where are the colored stems? Not too many colored stems, but sorry. I know, this is terrible, but I just knew they were Suillus. And then the stalks were quite scabbery, so the scabbery stalks, especially over here, okay, that shows me that those were the Lixinum. So I'm not going to. Now, this is just for perspective. This is a very special person. His name is Paul Kruger. It is his slide, so I'm thanking him for his slide. Paul Kruger is, little known fact, the cousin of Kruger, Chad Kruger, of Nickelback fame. Okay, Chad Kruger is this big. Paul is quite small, but he's very smart. Okay, he gathered these boletes. They're in his hands. Just to give you a perspective of how big boletes are, they are actually big. Morels are quite small. Okay, boletes are big. Take a look at the caps of these boletes. They're all marked. What do you think ate them? Snails. Okay, snails love boletes. Okay, don't worry, they won't. Unless you swallow a snail and it goes in your lung, that's not really swallowing, that's aspirating. If a snail goes into your lung, then you're in trouble. But if a snail goes into your gut, not so bad. But so snails don't really carry a lot of toxins, bacteria or.
They can't have parasites.
They can't. Yes, that's why you don't want to snort it, okay, or aspirate it, or yeah. That's why I mentioned that about lungs. And of course, viruses can survive acids of the stomach. But in any case, I wouldn't worry about these bites. I'd eat it anyways. Okay, but I didn't pick it. If you looked at ours, there were so many. We would just go, oh, no, not that one. But you know what? It was Richard and I with another group of people, and we came out with like masses of mushrooms. And I found like about 6. I'm like, oh, really? You know what you have to do? You have to train your eye. You have to be patient. You have to know your trees. Oh, I want an aspen bolete. What am I looking for? An aspen tree. I'm looking for the trembling aspen. I can hear a trembling aspen. Anyways, now the last one. Oh, now we're into September, okay? At the end of summer, it starts to get cooler. And the number 13 matters again. If the soil in fall drops to about 13 degrees, you get a beautiful flush of pitpanky, okay? Now, the thing about pitpanky, there's about 10 different species of this genera. The genera is called Armillaria, okay? There's about 10 different species. They're all good, okay? So, if there's 10 different species, what's gonna happen? Well, they look different. Oh my God, they look different. The one on the far end almost looks like a bolete. Yes, and if you kicked it, it'd be tough. These guys grow on wood, and they're a little bit woody. So that is a spruce bolete, a spruce honey mushroom, a spruce pitpanky. That's right. That one over there, sitting right on the base of a spruce. Look at this next. This is their typical growth pattern. Where are these? They're growing at the base of, this is prickly rose, the wild rose. Okay, let's find some more. Look at these. Can you see them? You probably can't see them. That's probably why you walk out of the bush with nothing. Okay? Okay. These are them right here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Oh my goodness, if you keep looking, there's tons. You see this? Look how I picked them. Actually, these were picked on September the 14th. I had a presentation on the 15th. And I thought, oh, you know what? My slides are so old. Why don't I just go in the bush? 5 minutes from my house. Walk. Why don't I just go? It's Thursday. My presentation's Friday. I used to live more dangerous than that. I used to do my lessons at noon and teach them at 1. Okay? Now I do them on Thursday, teach it on Friday. But anyways, why don't I just go out? All of these are from the 14th. All of these photos. I have even more. I had about 20 photos from the 14th. In my own bush. In your bush. Walking distance everywhere around here. They're everywhere, but the conditions have to be right. So the ones on the left are aspen, associated with aspen, and the ones on the right are associated with the birch. This is a fallen birch. That is their known solid characteristic. Solid, this solid, okay? They are associated with wood. They grow on wood, okay? What else? If there's 10 of them and they're all different, what else do I have to know? They have a white spore print. A white spore print. If you go back to this slide here, you can see the white spore print right here. This is the white spore print. If you look carefully, the mushroom is going to do its spore print for you. It will grow above that one, then it'll dust its spores, and that one, and that one. And so you don't have to even do the spore print. You don't have to go home and do your spore print. You can just observe and see that it's done its spore print for you. A white spore print is one of the most important identifying features. What else? A cottony ring. It has like a little ring, a couple of millimeters below its cap. Okay. What else? It has a honey-colored cap. They're almost all honey-colored caps. That's why they're nicknamed honey mushrooms. And why are they called pitpanki? I'm not sure of the Ukrainian tradition of why they were called pitpanki, but I think it's something to do with mushrooms that are so abundant that they're under your feet. I'm not sure. Something like that.
Under the stem.
Oh, it means under the stem?
Yeah.
Oh, stem. See, my Ukrainian is very rudimentary. It means under the stem.
Yeah.
That's much stump. Oh, stump mushrooms. Some people call them stump mushrooms. I always thought that it meant something to do with your feet, but did not. Learn something every day. That's why I come here. So, what do you do with this mother lode? This is my husband's basket. I finally taught him to pick mushrooms the right way. If you know for sure it's a honey mushroom, and let's go back to one more thing. A tinge of yellow. So a honey mushroom has a white spore print, a honey color cap, a cottony ring on its stem, a tinge of yellow somewhere. Under its gills, on its stem, okay? Grows in groups and grows on wood, okay? So you make yourself like a little card, cheat card, okay, cue card, dot, 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 dot. No yellow, kick it. Oh no, don't kick it. I actually don't do that. I don't know why I've been saying that. I don't knock any mushroom over, I don't have to. I don't pick bracket fungus because bracket fungus takes forever to grow. I look at it and I go, oh, you're so beautiful. And then I go on. But so some people pick them. So what do I mean about teaching him? Now that he knows conclusively that it's a honey mushroom, he carries scissors and he cuts them right at their cap or at just a little bit below so that we don't have hours and hours of work when we get home, which we have. Because look at this. This is my stainless steel sink. It is full of mushrooms. But you must examine each one. Then you must cook them. Even little white button mushrooms, you should be cooking them. Okay? You can dry them, you can freeze them, you can can them, you can pickle them, you can share them. Once you have done, examine each mushroom. Why examine each one? Because there is something called the deadly Galerina. It is a little brown mushroom, a lot like these guys. Doesn't grow like them. It kind of grows like the ones on the far right, singly. But it still could be accidentally picked, and you still could make that mistake. So now I'm going to just move a tiny bit into food preparation, but I won't spend my whole life on this topic. But I would just want to tell you something. You know, Ukrainian food sometimes gets a bad rap. It's, you know, creamy, it's white, it's tasty. Okay? It's not that necessarily that beautiful. It just has the right combination of fat, salt, sour, and a bit of unami. And what is that unami? Okay? It is something that's found in mushrooms. It is a kind of flavor that you can't substitute, or it's very hard to substitute. So when I think of the food that I ate when I was a kid, whether it was at Auntie Sophie's or whether it was at home or at my baba's, there was a flavor that I could never really duplicate. The cream was different, it had more fat in it, and I tried to put into my recipe the time that it takes to bring that flavor out. And so the soup recipe that I give you is like a story, okay? You have to read it and understand that if you're going to make that soup, you have to stand at the stove and mix it until all the water, so some lucky person is going to win this, okay? This is about half the mushrooms you need for the recipe, so if you wanted, you could make half the recipe, okay? And you take these mushrooms, and these mushrooms are not going to kill you, won't hurt anybody. They're puffball. Puffball is one of the safest mushrooms. Parasol, which I haven't done, and they're fields, which is peccerecci. I've diced them all, they're just right. You take this and you put it in a pot that's about an 8 to a 10 cup pot, and you slowly cook it with a tiny bit of onion and a tiny bit of salt. You incrementally add your salt. You cook it, and you'll find that there'll be lots of water. You cook it, and you let the water make a lacquer, and then you cook it, and you keep the lacquer in it, and soon there's no lacquer left, okay? So at that point, you add butter, okay? What butter, okay? You can only add the butter you buy at the store unless you can get butter from someone who makes it. But you add butter, okay? Now it's glazed, you could add a little more onion, then you could add a little flour. Let the flour cook. Then you add the milk, okay, slowly cooking it. Now, this is where you could segue. If you wanted to just make creamed mushrooms, you could add cream. And at that point, you'd have creamed mushrooms. So that's why there's that gray box, and you could stop the recipe there. It takes me about half a day. But when I'm making those mushrooms, I'm doing other things, okay? I'm like ironing or washing the dishes. I still do ironing, you know. I know some people never heard of an iron, some people sitting here, but anyways, so that is why you will pick up a Ukrainian cookbook and it will say, use mushrooms. It will never tell you which mushrooms to use. It will say, use button mushrooms, about 1 pound. No, that is a horrible recipe, okay? It's because most writers understand the complexity of choosing a mushroom. That's why it seems like secretive, but it's not. It's for your safety. And if you can, use mushrooms that are wild. Use mushrooms in soup, in sauces, in pierogies, in lasagna, with chicken, with meat, eggs, blah, 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 with anything that you want. You can can them. You could pickle them. You can fry them. You can cream them. That's the classical method. And you could win them. Cool. Okay, I have 3 gifts. Okay, so you are allowed to, the first person is allowed to say, oh, I want the Kalyna instead. Okay, so, okay, now I want to refer to the handout that I gave you that has a recipe of, has 1 recipe in it. I'm sorry, I don't know where my handout is. No, it's so disorganized. Quick pickled mushrooms. I chose this recipe to put in here to demonstrate what I found in Ukrainian cookbooks. 1 pound small button mushrooms. Very hard to find a Ukrainian cookbook that will say, you know, this would be really good with morels, or this would be better if you used blah, blah, blah. They just say, and then they give you the recipe. But there's lots of true things in her paragraph. Ukrainians have a special fondness for mushrooms. Numerous varieties of edible mushrooms of excellent flavor grow luxuriantly in Ukraine during the entire growing season. This sentence is false. Unfortunately, many of the varieties are unobtainable in Canada. Many of this, and that's, I think she wrote that because she was keeping the uncertainty so that people would not go, oh, I saw this in Ukraine, I'm gonna buy it, I'm gonna eat it. Yeah. And then the last one, pickled mushrooms are regarded as very important. Yeah. So I love that book. The book right now is selling for $200 to $780. So if you can find it, my daughter-in-law has it. Okay, nutritional value of mushrooms. I just have to put this in because mushrooms are special because they have 9 out of 9 essential amino acids. And I'm just going to segue into a little bit of chemistry here, or biochemistry. Proteins are made of amino acids. You need 21 amino acids. You need all 21 to make proteins. The human body can make 12 amino acids. 12. So it has to source the rest of them. It has to go on the internet. Oh, can I find myself some amino acids? No, it doesn't. It goes to your food that you eat to build the other amino acids. And Ukrainians have eaten traditionally wheat, potatoes, and mushrooms over the years. And wheat and potatoes and mushrooms are perfect proteins, or complete proteins. A perfect protein or a complete protein is a protein that has all 21 amino acids. Well, it has all 9 of the essential. It may be missing a few others. The article is a super article because it tells you that all you need in your diet is a few grams of protein, and that's something you need to know. I'll give you a couple other numbers. You need between 40 and 70 grams of protein a day. That's all. Okay? Probably more like 65. And you need about, probably 1,900 calories. Now, those numbers aren't exactly transmittable, but 1,900 calories, so you have to be very careful of what you eat, so it's always best to pick something perfect or a complete protein. I'm moving into others. This is oyster mushrooms. This is my husband. It's a big stick. The oyster mushrooms grow on dead poplars. You push them with a stick, they fall down into your hand. And then you got them in your hand and they're full of bugs. They're very prone to be bugged. So when were they picked? June 20th, June 24th. These are beautiful. These were picked July 2nd in Laurier Park in Carigana. This one's a safe one. They're huge. There's a side of dinner plates. It's called a shaggy parasol. This is in a schoolyard. They're puffballs. Look how big they are. Put them in my fridge just so you can see it. But you know what's up here? I grew these. That's arugula. That's another story. This is our secret spot for inky caps. This is how we forage. We come home, we lay everything out, and we study them. I make spore prints. My husband has to walk around the spore prints for a while till I get tired of them or can identify them. If I can't identify them, pat myself on the back. If I can't, shove them into the garbage. Generally, I like to throw them into my backyard. Not all, as I said, are edible. We just sometimes pick them for learning. Oh my God, look at these. Yeah. Oh, these are so delicious. You take scissors, you cut them up into tiny little pieces, fry them in butter and salt and garlic, and guess what you have? A good shrimp substitute. Okay. And this over here, we did this actually at a Great Alberta Mushroom Foray at Pigeon Lake. Now, the recipe on the side, if you are dairy-free, you could substitute olive oil for the recipe. These are the references. This is the ending, but the question, what was this really about? And where can you find mushrooms? Let's start with that one. Where can I find a mushroom?
Anywhere.
Everywhere, yes, but you'd only get like about 25 out of 100 on that. Where else can you find mushrooms? Forest, disturbed soil. You'd get a little bit more. Trees, associated with trees. Let's think back to the blueberry. Where do you find a blueberry? On a blueberry plant. Where do you find a mushroom?
On mycelium.
That's the answer. That's the answer.
Don't I get a prize?
No. I brought other things. Oh, I brought other things, but I can't. This cost $65. I couldn't pick this many morels. We pick morels and eat them. So I buy these just so that when I make the soup, my little unami, my soup will not taste like yours. Because in the middle of my little, I take a few of these and I crumble them in there. Okay? So these are purchased. These are not purchased. My friend and I, and the recipe is in the book. My friend and I made these together, and they're an assortment, the summertime mushrooms, but mostly pitpanki. These are salty, and they're preserved with olive oil and salt. These over here are called it's a version of a chanterelle. Some people say there are chanterelles in Alberta. These are not found in the river valley. And that picture at the beginning, that was not in the river valley. That was at Robb. Hinton, Robb, there's public land there.
Was that a lion's mane?
No, the mushroom in the picture was an unnamed mushroom yet, but we know what it is. It is a hydnum. It's called, nickname is hedgehog. Those are very special. We wrote to the forest management area to get them to preserve a part of the forest. It grows in 60-year-old forests. So this over here is the family of Boletes, the family Boletes. And there are two kinds. I paid $50 for this little package. I'll pass it around. If it disappears, I'll not be happy. I didn't use any of it, but I bought it for two reasons. You can really see which ones are the Suillis, yellow, okay, colored stems. And you can really see which ones are the Lexinum, scabby stalks. And you can also see something else. This person is not as scrupulous as I am. This is full of little wormholes. Okay, yeah, some people's kids. These are my three references. This is one when I first started mushrooming before my kid was born, 1977 about, in Edmonton. Same writer of this book, okay, and this one is from 1991, but it's still in print. She is a legend in our society. This is a really good one, written by Cervenka, and all it deals with is edibles. And it will give you some lookalikes so that you don't make a mistake with an Gallerina. So the second question. What was this talk really about?
Surviving the forest.
Safety, that's really good. Food is, it's an aspect of food.
Observing?
Enjoying.
Culture.
Is about culture, okay? I don't know, I didn't really have enough time to properly do it, but I really wanted this talk to be about was for Ukrainians to understand why malnutrition was not a very common thing in settlers. It wasn't. There were other things. Obesity was a problem, smoking, all of the ills that they brought from the old country, those were problems, but not malnutrition. And one of the most damaging things with the diet is a diet low in protein. And so if you eat potatoes, a perfect protein. My Baba once told me, I said, what did you eat in winter? And she said, well, we didn't really want to eat the chickens, okay? And we butchered in fall so we could have meat, but if we ran out of meat, we always had potatoes, okay? And I was a biology teacher at that time, and I knew why. They didn't have malnutrition, okay? They had potatoes. Potatoes is a food that gives you all the amino acids that you need. Okay? Yes, rice doesn't. Okay? Rice doesn't. You know what else doesn't? Cassava doesn't. Corn doesn't. Okay? So you can eat a lot of calories in rice, corn, and cassava, but still suffer from malnutrition or protein deficiency. So if you eat enough protein and enough calories, then the food that you eat will have the carbohydrates and will have the lipids, even potatoes. Okay? Nobody does make potato oil, but there's lipids in protein in potatoes. Same thing in mushrooms, there's oils. So anyways, that's what I really wanted. I hope you understood that we are lucky to be Ukrainian. We ate potatoes, our grandparents ate potatoes. You know, Audrey Hepburn suffered malnutrition because of her mother being under malnutrition. And so my grandmother was not did not suffer. You see how important the nutrition is? Anyways, if I'd had more time, I think it would have come clearer. But it still would have been my question on the test. Too bad. Anyways, that's my thought.